Okay, so I'm just going to go for it. I'm not going to wait for you guys to show up. You guys can either watch it live or you can watch it later on. Also, it looks like I've got a little issue with the autofocus. Let me turn that off real quick. There we go. That looks better. All right, cool. So a few days ago, I sent out a message on my Messenger group, and if you haven't joined that, I'll put a link on this page, or if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put a link up for that. It'll be in an obvious place, so just check it out. I'll put it up after I do this live video. So one of the answers that I got that I wanted to address immediately is a lot of people, oh, by the way, first the question was, you know, what are your current struggles? What are you struggling with when it comes to finishing release quality songs consistently? That's what I want to help you guys with. So that's really what I need to hear from you guys, is what you believe your challenges are. And I got a lot of really great answers, but I got a couple answers that I really don't think should be much of a concern for you. And this is whether you're a beginner or someone that's a bit more advanced. But I hear from a lot of people that they think their issue with finishing quality songs is loudness and understanding mastering. And neither of those should really be your concern at all. Mastering is something that is best left after you have a great mix, all right? So you shouldn't be trying to master your track as you're mixing. And I know what a lot of you guys probably do is you use a reference track and you try to match the volume, and you think, well, if I could just get the volume there, then I'm going to have the quality song. And that couldn't be further from the truth, because what's happening is you're pushing your songs and all your parts to their extreme. And when you push everything to extreme, it's going to sound very unnatural, and it's going to make your mixes sound a lot worse. So yeah, going for loudness will make you think that your mix down also sounds different when it's exported outside of your DAW. And that's just because you're fighting so hard to get this volume, and then you export it and you play it in maybe iTunes or something else, and it doesn't have the same volume that you expected or something. So you think that the mix down is different, and that's not true either. It's just a matter of different audio playback software is going to play at different levels. That's all. So what you should be doing is working really hard to get a great sounding mix. So if you're bringing in like a reference track, which I recommend that you do, what you should be doing is lowering the volume of the reference track by like 10 or 15 dB. That way, volume is not even part of the equation. All you're trying to do is get a sonic sound groove and figuring out the elements that are necessary, not fighting to push everything as loud as they will go before they distort. What you really want to do is leave a lot of headroom. So never ever put a mastering chain on your master track, because what's going to happen is it's going to make your mix sound unnatural, and it's going to make for lazy mixing, because it's automatically going to compress all your sounds, so you don't really have to like actually fine tune your mix, and that's going to make for a worse sounding mix when it comes to playing a club or what have you. So what you really want to do is you don't want your mix really to peak any louder than -3 dB. There should be on standard about a 6 dB headspace. So you want your average volume to be about -6 dB from the top level. And then from there, just make sure it doesn't cross the -3 dB threshold. And you shouldn't be using a limiter to do that. You actually want to use your mixing. And if your mix is a little wonky, you could obviously put a compressor or something on a specific track, but don't put it on your master track, because that's going to really affect how your mix sounds. So mastering is best left to a professional. You shouldn't be trying to master your own tracks anyway. Most likely you don't have the room, the type of studio necessary to give that perfect clean sound that you need in order to make these kind of judgments. Now, obviously you could do a little bit of mastering in your headphones and things like that, but that's still not going to be very accurate. What I recommend is, if you're just looking to play a song in a club just to test it out, then what you could do is just drag a utility and then follow that by a limiter, and just turn the utility up like 5 dB. Don't add any EQ, don't add any compression, don't add any of that. Just turn the volume up and use a limiter to keep things from peaking. But when you're sending something off to be mastered, you don't want anything on your master track, all right? So yeah, that's really one of the things that I wanted to discuss with you guys, because I'm hearing from so many people that you think you need to learn mastering and you think you need to learn loudness. instead of just focusing on making great mixes. And if you make a great mix, the mastering and all that will take care of itself. The value of the mastering or the mastering person's ability to make your song as good as possible is really dependent on how good your mix is. So, and usually if you send it off to a mastering engineer, they will tell you if there's an issue that needs to be corrected in the mix before they do the mastering. At least anyone worth their money is going to tell you when your mix is not quite up to par. So these are some things that I really just wanted to put out first and foremost, because these are two things that you should not be worried about when it comes to making and finishing your tracks. You don't need loud mixes in order to have a great loud sounding song at the final part after you get it mastered. So with that said, that's really all that I had to say on this subject. But I hear it so often that I just think it needed to be said that mastering is not really your job. Loudness is not your job. Do not battle for either one of those. Do not try to get your song as loud as something that you're hearing on your reference track, or you're going to end up really making crappy sounding mixes is basically what it is. So avoid that and you will have a much better experience with your mixes, and your mastering engineer will be much happier to deal with you. So with that said, have a fantastic one. I'll talk to you guys soon.